Early in the morning, deep in the jungle, Sloth was fast asleep. But the rest of the animals were wide awake. Cheetah was on the treadmill, working on his speed. Elephant was lifting heavy weights, working on her strength. The adventure of the day is inspired by the book The Very Sleepy Sloth, written by Andrew Murray and illustrated by Jack Tickle. While the other animals in the jungle are busy running, lifting, jumping, and swinging, Sloth is snoozing. At first, the others think he's just being lazy. But when they each try to do someone else's favorite activity, they quickly realize how hard it is. Sloth reminds them that everyone has their own special strength, and his just happens to be rest. It's a fun and heartwarming story about individuality and embracing what makes us unique. And now it's time for our adventure of the day. We're going to meet a very special sloth at the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo. It's going to be an epic adventure. Let's go. Hello everyone, I am so excited today to be in the sloth exhibit at the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo with Sonda Stokes, the Education Program Manager.
We're glad to have you here, Pat. Patron and I are happy to see you.
The book of the day is The Very Sleepy Sloth by Andrew Murray. Sonda, what is the first thing we should know about sloths?
They sleep a lot in spite of what you see right there.
So Agave here, she is pretty active right now.
Indeed she is. Usually they're very slow, but she is moving a lot today for us.
So did we come at playtime today?
You came at lunchtime, so she's got a tummy full and she's getting ready to take another nap.
What do sloths typically eat? We saw them over here munching on broccoli and lettuce. What does a typical meal look like for them?
Well, this day she's having zucchini and carrots. Looks like we've also got some apple in there. They do enjoy a variety of greens, and a couple times a week they even get some boiled eggs.
No way! How does that vary in the wild? Is it similar, their diet?
They do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables that they can find in the wild. And of course, they also grow a lot more algae in the wild, which means they have lizards and insects climbing right on their fur. And sometimes they won't get a boiled egg in the wild, but they might actually catch a lizard and eat it.
Oh, so they're not just herbivores.
They are what we would call an omnivore. They eat a little bit of everything if they can get a hold of it.
Wow, who knew? That is a really cool fact. So I see Agave here, super cool seeing her roam around her habitat. I want to talk about her, what would you call those? Feet, hands? What are those called on sloth?
We would call them her hands and her feet. Exactly. She has 2 in the front and she has 3 toes in the back. And it looks like you can see a little bit there what looks like the palm of her hand or her foot. She's a 2-toed sloth, so she has 2 toes in the front. There are 3-toed sloths that have 3 toes in the front, and they all have 3 toes in the back.
Oh, that is so interesting. You know, up close, they look like claws.
That's exactly how they work. She can't lay them flat. If she was on the ground, she'd actually have to move on her elbows.
Do they ever move around on the ground like that?
Sometimes they do. Patron does. Agave usually stays up higher, but her boyfriend Patron does like to go on the ground every now and then and explore in the grass.
So interesting. Much of the time are they in trees versus on the ground?
Most of the time is in the tree. We would call that arboreal. Arbor means tree, and it means that they are tree animals. So most of the time they are up in the air.
That is so interesting. And I love how, they ball up.
Yes, they do. It's kind of interesting. They have 42 ribs. We only have 24. So they can ball up easier. They can fold like that because they've got a longer spine and more curvature around their ribs. So they fold up pretty easily.
Wow. You might miss them if you were in the rainforest.
When they're up at the top of their enclosure and all curled up sleeping, they remind me of a hornet's nest.
That's like a really big hornet's nest. Yes. And so when they ball up like this, are they sleeping or sometimes are they awake?
They're usually asleep. They can sleep up to 20 hours a day. So even though we're seeing them move around us, eating and going on their tree limbs, most of the time they're sound asleep.
And I know sloths are known for sleeping. And in our book today, that is sloth's superpower. How many hours do they sleep on average a day?
About 20 hours a day.
So what makes them like so sleepy?
They have a very slow metabolism. That means that their heart doesn't beat very fast. They don't breathe very fast. So they don't move a whole lot. They don't waste much energy.
So here is the question. I'm sure our audience today is wanting to know, do they ever like perk up and be jovial and jolly and have that kind of energy?
Well, they do like a good rainstorm. They will go outside, and those tree limbs that you see there around us, they have them out in the main enclosure as well, and they like to rock back and forth in the rain. And if it's too windy, my friend Agave does not like to be very wind-blown, and she can have a temper tantrum, and that's kind of fun because she'll hang by her toes and pull at the plants and kind of act like a toddler having a bad temper.
No way. A sloth having a temper? I would love to see that.
They're pretty quiet most of the time, but they can actually make a few noises, and we know when they're not happy.
Wow, they seem like such jovial animals, like slow and gentle. That kind of goes against the typical stereotype I think we think of sloths.
Yes, we usually think of them as being slow. I usually describe it as being cautious. When you can see as they're moving around, their ankles and their wrists rotate more than ours do. And if you had 4 different limbs you were trying to keep track of in a tree, you'd probably take your time too. So they're not so much slow as they are careful.
That's a good point. It is a lot to manage now that I think about it. Because if they follow the trees, that's not going to be good.
No, there could be jaguars down there, coatis. There are a number of different predators where they live in Central America. They'd want to stay up in the trees to be safe.
Wow. And so are they only found in Central America?
Central and Northern South America in the rainforests. They do really well here in Alabama because it's hot and rainy here too.
Yes, it definitely is. So the animals in the book, they all think sloths should be more active. Do sloths ever play, explore, climb, have fun sort of thing?
They do like to move around out in the main enclosure. There are lots of ropes for them to climb around on, and sometimes Patron even comes down on the ground to see what's happening down there with our tortoise and our armadillo.
So fun. Talk a little bit about that armadillo that lives in their enclosure.
Well, he's a special little armadillo. He has only 3 bands across his back. In America, where we live, there are 9-banded armadillos, which are larger. Artie is a smaller armadillo, and he can actually roll himself up into a ball to protect himself.
Oh, how cool is that? Wow, I have never seen one of those up close. Wow. And so it kind of goes into my other question. Do sloths live alone most of the time or with other sloths? And do they have friends like in the book?
I don't know that you'd say they have friends. Agave and Patron do live here together at our zoo in our enclosure, but they spend time separated in the wild, out in the jungle, in the rainforest. They would live alone. We call that solitary, when an animal likes to live by itself. Agave had a baby. If there was a baby in the group, the mom would take care of the babies, and when they got older, she'd let them go off and be on their own. So they don't really have friends. They don't hang around in a big group of sloths, but occasionally they do get together for some one-on-one time for friends.
Aww. And how many babies do they typically have?
Usually just 1.
Okay.
That's enough to keep track of so it doesn't fall out of the tree. They have to learn how to hang on to mom's fur.
Oh man, that's kind of high stakes for a baby.
They're born quick and smart and strong.
Aw. So what's the slowest thing a sloth has ever done that's made you laugh?
Oh, goodness. Patron, one day during an adventure with some other friends visiting the zoo, stretched out hanging by his toes to scratch his back. And we looked over and he had stopped moving mid-scratch. He was still scratching his back and he had fallen asleep. He was so slow scratching, he forgot and just fell asleep.
And that's something that we witnessed just a second ago, that fell asleep like literally in the middle of eating.
I think that was also Patron. He passes out after he eats. He does like to go back to sleep pretty quickly.
It's like the toddler at the dinner table, right? That just like puts down his head and falls asleep.
They do occasionally. I'll look over and they might have their head right in the bowl, taking a nap in between chewing.
Real quick, let's talk about some fun facts. So I know there's a fun fact about how many times they go to the bathroom, a BM, and 2 about their claws and their teeth.
Yes. So they only go to the bathroom once a week. They eat every day like you and I do, but because in the wild they would have to come all the way out of a tree down to the ground to do their business, they only do it once a week. It keeps them safe. They would climb over to another tree and go back up, and then if a predator like a big cat, like a jaguar, came along and found the little pile down there by the bottom of the tree, they wouldn't know which tree the sloth was actually in. So it's an adaptation, a way for them to stay safe in the jungle.
Oh, how cool is that? Man, it'd be kind of nice to go to the bathroom once a week.
It makes it easier for us to take care of them at the zoo for sure. As for the claws, we talked about them having 2 claws in the front and 3 toes in the back. There are 2 different kinds of sloths and about 5 different total. 2 sets have 2 toes, and I think there are like 3 different groups that have 3 toes in the front. They don't really have fingers. What looks like a finger is actually their whole toe, their whole claw. They don't have canine teeth. If you look at a mirror and make a big smile and you see the pointy teeth in your mouth, those are called canine teeth. They're the ones that help you bite meat and chew your food. They don't have those. They have incisors. We also have those, but they sharpen those on the food they eat. And they don't have any enamel. Their teeth actually will change color as they get older. They don't stay white like ours do.
Oh, wow. That's super interesting. And so just wrapping up today's Sonda, what do you think kids can learn from sloths about going at their own pace?
Well, everybody has their own pace. We talked about Artie, our little armadillo. He likes to run around looking for ants to eat. The sloths take their time. They look around. They don't miss anything. It's nice to slow down and see where you are sometimes. Sometimes they're pulling at the plants. Sometimes they're playing with them. They take their time and they never miss a detail.
Well, Sonda, this has been a wonderful time with you today. What an epic experience getting so close to your precious sloths here at the zoo.
Well, we appreciate you coming out. I know that Patron and Agave enjoyed your visit with us today.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming adventures. And we'll see you next time. Want more book days? Well, the adventure has only begun. Check out these episodes and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming adventures.